Is there only me in the room? How are we all feeling about habits and routines? Good? How did we all feel the first part of the session went? Good. Amazing. Tremendous, that's the word. Tremendously amazing. Cool. Good. No doubt there's been a few people I've either had conversations with or I've overheard saying about some really powerful shifts already and changes. Different aha moments, absolutely. So we've got a really powerful second part of the day. And I really want you to really embrace this. We're going to be covering one. There's no setup at all in this. You're going to find out more. It's really interesting how this has worked out. However, everything's perfect. So, without further ado, I'm going to welcome up Susan King to come and join me. So we already had a little introduction earlier on around Susan King. Susan has actually put this section together, we're not too close to the speakers, has put this section together to help you get a lot of value from it. Now, as we said at the beginning, the amount of value you get from this is the amount of effort you're going to put into it. Are we all clear on that now based on your goals? That was probably one of the hardest things you've ever done. From a logical point, would we all agree?
Yes.
Goal setting is extremely hard, and that's why a lot of people don't do it, and why a lot of people don't end up getting the results they want because they aren't prepared to go through the pain of goal setting. We did this in February. The people who were at the last event, did any goals change?
Yes.
Absolutely. So we're constantly evolving, we're constantly changing, and this is going to be a really powerful section, Susan, isn't it?
It is. It's a little bit different to what we've done up until now. There is a little story behind it. Shall we talk about the story?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the story. So, basically we had a team meeting, it would have been maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we were running through the event and through what we were going to present and how it was going to work. And it was suggested by one of our team, we won't point any fingers at Dave, okay? So that when we got to this point, that me and Martin stood up and actually did something together. And initially, my first reaction, I think Martin's was the same, was a bit like, oh, okay, fair enough, a male and a female on stage, balance, you know, the way we're looking at it. And I said to Dave, okay, what's that, the whole male and female, like the balance type thing? And he goes, well, no. He goes, you're a hard ass. He goes, and Martin's soft, and I thought it would be a really nice balance.
Martin's soft. Dave can't remember this.
I do remember. Sat up here. You're not, hey, come on.
Typical jazz. Put the sexy dancing music on, just
Yes, sexy dance, Jazz.
Last one.
And then, funnily enough, we realised when we turned up today, no, we did not coordinate our clothing. However, it does look that way, really, at the end of the day, Martin. It had a worn pink, I think we would have clashed, so I'm glad I didn't. But yeah, it's funny how. So this section we're about to go into is something that I have done quite a bit of work in the past and delivered to people in the past. It was sitting in a fantastic format in a computer that I actually set on fire. Well, I actually didn't set it on fire, so it makes me sound like a psycho. It just burst into flames when I was using it. I'm not sure which one is there. Let's just get that straight.
That's where we all work in a big park and we keep Sue in Bold Ivers.
I have a very, very good talent in blowing up computers. But anyway, so when I presented this, because of what happened at the meeting, I said to Martin, is there a way we can, you know, depending on what we're going to do, is there a way we can squish this in and actually really utilise it and use it? So Martin, luckily enough, Martin and Beth kind of recreated it, because like I sent them basically a Word doc going, hope this makes sense, and they recreated it into something that hopefully will look amazing and you guys will get a lot from.
Absolutely. So the first thing we are going to be doing is getting into your books. So page 21. Remember how we said you're going to be working a lot through your books, because we want you to take something away tangible that you can reflect on, and naturally as you're going through, arguably in the next 3 or 4 months before we do the next event, see what's changed. So, knowing your power, circle 18 words from the list below that most represent you. Now I don't want you to think about them, I want you to see the word and instantly connect. If you don't, move on to the next one. Go on. Make more sense. Right, okay. Next slide. You'll see column A, column B, column C, column D. Each of these are columns. You get a point for column 1, point for column 2, 3 points for column C, 4 points for column D. Start totaling up. So remember, each word has an amount. So if you, in column A, each word's worth 1 point. Column C, each word's worth 3 points. Total them all at the end. Okay. Hand up to show everyone who's finished. I know Anita's still going. You done? Yeah? Okay, cool. Right. So where are you currently sitting then? In the middle. You're never balanced.
Well, I didn't actually finish it, so I'm actually a lot of these things here, but I didn't get there and I've already reached 18,
So just to explain quickly, this is actually the feminine and the masculine energy, not gender.
Yes.
So it's not gender related. So as I said when we first walked on the stage, I was referred to as the hard ass,
Yes.
and Martin was referred to as soft.
Yes.
Yin and yang.
So basically we all have masculine and feminine energy within us. We have both. We have exactly both. The difference is depending on where you sit on the scale as to how your life is going to go. And that's why we thought we'd bring this up. I'm going to go over and draw, is that alright?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's drawing time. Mr. Squiggle time.
Lots of fun for
I'm missing you already, Sue.
I know, I'm missing you too, hon. Okay.
Looks like me.
Okay, I added the eyes in just to make it really didn't need to be
more
there.
day like.
Okay, so basically what we've got is we've got the energy circle. So this is the masculine side. If everyone can see it, can everyone see it from that side?
Yeah.
Everyone see it? We'll just move it on around just a little bit. Can everyone see it now? Okay, beautiful. We have the masculine side and we have the feminine side and we have the middle, which is our balance area. Okay, so the masculine energy in itself is explosive. Masculine energy is very explosive. Usually when they reach a peak of here, that's the violence, the outward violence, the murders, the everything else. And that, again, like I said, this is not gender related, this is actually energy. So a female like myself in here, it will have exactly the same result. Okay, that would be exciting, wouldn't it? So this is the masculine energy. So basically they're explosive. The female energy is actually more implosive. So they go more within themselves. The masculine energy will blame others. It's everybody else's fault why I'm in the spot I'm in. Females and the feminine energy blame themselves. So I'm stupid, I'm never going to find anyone, why did I do something like that? And it's internal.
I'll give in.
Okay? So a normal person, and I shouldn't say this,
Because who's
because if you guys have actually ranked outside of this, please don't think you're not normal. But we'll talk about that later. A normal balanced person will do this
Yeah.
Yeah. Pendulum.
throughout the day. Okay? They will rock backward and forward. So when we're sitting in places, and like I said, that meeting that we had, because it's actually a work-related thing and we're actually on the stride of the doing, which is the masculine, energy is doing. It's kind of like do. They have a goal, they have a set, they're single focused. Whereas the female energy is more the being. We like to run around in the daisies and look at the trees and everything else. Okay? There's two differences. But for you to actually, if you're sitting here, okay, you're sitting in your masculine energy. Alright, so let's say for instance, Caroline's sitting in a masculine energy, you're sitting up here, okay? I'm also sitting there. Alright, what sort of a conversation are we going to have? How's it going to go?
very dominant.
Caroline's sitting here, and I can drop into here. How's that conversation going to go?
Fine. That'll go fine.
And the same with the feminine energy. So the feminine energy and a masculine, someone totally in their masculine and someone totally in their feminine. He's here, he's outward, he's domineering, he's aggressive, he's blaming. She's sitting on the other side, and because he's blaming and projecting, she's already beating herself up. She's just beating herself up even more and shutting down. Okay. So the reason why we were going to run through this today is one, to work out where you're sitting, and if you're sitting more up this side here or more up this side here, there are things you can do to help bring yourself back down here and balance yourself out. But also too, if you're having conversations, communicating with anyone, if you can be in this section here, you'll actually get a conversation. If you're sitting here and they're sitting there, and I will tell a quick story, that's all right. So this is what I class as being my best self. The qualities that sit here is my best self. It's the best version of me. Here, I have an anti-ego, and his name's Steve. Okay, put it nicely. Steve comes out here. Steve comes out when I feel I'm not being heard, and I actually need to get a little bit more aggressive, and a little bit more demanding, a little bit more domineering, and actually stand up to feel like I'm being heard. On this side here, I have Lala. Yeah, a bit of Sookie Lala. She comes out, that's why she was named that way. She comes out when I feel like I'm not being seen. Okay? So we will still always have, even though we may be balanced here, we will have swings where we go one way or another at different times. We all will. There is no way around that. The female up this side here is really depressive. So that's one thing to look at, and just to realise that if you're really sitting in that section, that's actually quite depressive and you're really, really sad and really, really upset, to be able to bring yourself back down with a little bit of masculine energy to do that. Okay?
Let's get into this part here. A lot of things that are happening right now, Dave mentioned it earlier on, are holding us back because of our childhood.
Or prior to childhood, as in birth.
Absolutely, even in past life stuff, when we come in and we
past life.
find there are things.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this here we can see a little girl's really struggling based on the picture. However, one of the biggest things that we see is that from a parenting point, when the little girl is crying, daddy is very much, and just using daddy as an example here, daddy is very much, darling, don't worry, everything's going to be perfectly fine. But when the boy's crying, big boys don't cry. So, you know, if you want a man, you're a big boy, you're strong, so what happens, it gets suppressed.
Yeah.
And then later on in life, it creates and manifests into problems because we continue to suppress it. And we see this especially, like this is a big one from where I've been, and I have so many people come up to me and praise me for talking about the mental health and going very in depth. And it's because men don't tend to put their hands up. They don't ask for help, because of fear of toughen up, princess, because of an egotistical society and a judgment that's going to be put, which is then going to suppress them even more. What's my dad going to say about me? You know, that was a big one for me. What's my dad actually going to say? When my dad realised I was literally like suicidal, he was like, whoa, why? He couldn't understand it, he couldn't connect with it. It was like, things happen, things get bad. Why would you want to go that alone? He couldn't touch on that, but my dad had never been to that place. But that was really being created. I spoke to a beautiful guy that said to me, your masculine was always in front and would not allow your feminine to step forward, and was always saying, feminine, you're not strong enough. So it controlled, and it controlled to the point of destruction. So I know, and Beth will tell you, because Beth and I worked together, like last year, was it when I was doing a lot of the mental health? It was last year. It was this very, very powerful feminine that was dominating me. And it was really connected. But of late, it's been very much a masculine. Just noticing my language, like swearing a lot, very reactive, flippant. That's why I said, come on, work in the calendar. Completely different animal. Because it's needed massive amounts of action. And to stay in the feminine, I would not have been like, so it's not gender specific. It needs to be a very powerful, dominating, action-taking masculine energy. So to go back, when Dave asked me to talk around some of the stuff with mental health, and Sue said, he can't. He's in a powerful masculine space. To go into that feminine, you need him to. You can't just flick it on and turn it off like that. It doesn't work like that. It's a very powerful place, but it's also being aware. Dave said awareness is key. Being aware of where you are and what it is that's driving you. So with this here, we know that a lot starts from childhood, isn't it?
There's one thing that, am I turned on? I don't think you've turned me on. No, I keep turning myself off.
Turn you on.
I don't think
She signed the disclaimer, it's alright.
It's better than Dave gyrating on.
No, she loves that.
One of the things we actually tend not to recognise, am I still on now?
Yeah.
That we tend not to recognise is that when we're actually in the womb, our heart is actually beating before our brain starts to form.
Yeah.
So your heart is actually beating before your brain starts to form properly. So what happens is when we come out, we have all this environmental stuff around us, and like Martin said, it can be things that your dad has said or your grandfather has said or that sports coach. It's usually between the ages of 0 and 5, 6 that most of that brain wiring happens in our conditioning and our beliefs. But it can also be watching. So Martin's dad may not have said to him, toughen up, rub some sand on it, walk it off. But he actually may have done that himself, and Martin's seen him do that. Okay, so it can be something simple. Our parents, and anyone in this room that's a parent, knows that you bring your child into this world and you want the very, very best for them. There's not many parents that bring a child into the world going, gee, I hope they completely fail. Most of us, I know, right? My kids will tell you that was me. Anyway, most of us bring children into this world and we want the best for them. We want them to have an amazing life. We want them to, and as we're going through, we do the best that we can do for that child with what we have. So this is not blaming parents and caregivers and grandparents and aunts and uncles that were around you growing up. There's no blame in this. They did what they thought was best for you at the time. It's just that the way we perceive it as children, we're egocentric, which means if it's around me, it's about me. I might still like that now, but that's another story, right? But we just take it on board and we're like sponges and we just basically take it all in and take it all in and take it all in. Our subconscious brain runs our life 95% of the time. Our conscious brain 5%. Dave made a comment about driving somewhere and you drive on autopilot, right? How good is that, right? And you get to the shops, you run in, you get your stuff, you walk back out to the car park and you look around and you go, did I drive here? And then you've got to walk up and down the aisles. Now, I'm not saying I've done that 5 or 6 times, but I have. Because that's my subconscious brain taking me to that shopping centre because I go repeatedly and it's a habit and it's there and it's instilled in. Whereas my conscious brain had been working at the time, I would have actually known exactly where I parked and being more present in the moment. And that's just bringing yourself back to the moment now. Not what happened, where it was, anything like that, but being able to bring yourself back to now.
Yeah, cool. So, let's talk about the young, masculine, motivated people, and Susan is going to share more around this.
Yes, that's so true.
As we can see, the masculine energy, the yang, they start new ideas easy. So they have lots and lots and lots of amazing ideas, right? Some of them, we won't point today, have really, really, really good ideas. And because they're the doing, they basically want to do. It's like now, today, now, right now.
Yeah.
So they're great at starting things. They have difficulty completing projects because they start and the next project's already started that they want to do and they don't actually finish. They need lots of things going on around them. They never seem to follow through, not because they don't mean to, it's just that they're single focused. So masculine energy or the masculine brain is actually single focused. So say for instance with me today, when I was coming down, me and Dave leaving the hotel to come here this morning, we'd had breakfast, we were trying to get here on time. I thought, right, I've got to do that, I've got to message the kids about this, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. The female brain is actually multi-focused. So let's say for instance Dave was walking from there, where he is now, onto the stage. In the middle here is a big pile of poop. I can guarantee if Dave was trying to get down here to tell me something, he would walk over that pile of poop and keep coming because he had something to tell me. He had one focus. Whereas as a female, I would walk to Dave and then I'd say to Martin, do you want a drink first? I'll give you a drink. Then I'd walk past and I'd go, oh, better pick up this bit of poop. Oh, I'll clean that whiteboard. I'll do that. But now I'd eventually get to Dave. Right, I've done 5 piles of washing and I've done some shopping in between. Yeah. Right, it's just the way the brain wires and works. So that's why they never seem to follow through. Absolutely nothing to do with intention. The fact that they, any woman in the room, they don't love you, they don't want to do it for you. They're just single focused. Okay. They live predominantly in the future. There's always that future. There's always that goal. There's always that focus. There's always that. They tend to be adventurous. So masculine energy tends to be quite adventurous. They make their own rules. So masculine energy don't necessarily like rules. They don't like the structure, they don't like the rules, they actually like to make it up as they go along.
I'm sure you've got into my brain.
That's okay, we'll work on you a bit later. They like to create change. That's the best part about the masculine energy. The masculine energy is actually the change creator. They resist change by others, and again, they like to make change, but they resist others' change, just like they like to make their own rules, okay? They talk in order to think. Okay, so, which is quite a strange one, because masculine energy, when they start to become quite stressed, usually the man cave comes in. Like, they just hide in the man cave, and they don't express, because like Martin said before, you're not meant to, it's not normal to, whatever. So, but they actually talk in order to think. So by them actually talking and expressing and communicating, it helps them to think, and they actually move through problems quicker. Resist structure and limitations. And again, they like to create their own. They're just basically a world of their own. And that's why when Colton said before about having to have the sun and the moon and the yin and the yang and the light and the dark, and it has to be here. One does not exist without the other. So we actually need this. So that's actually completely masculine motivated people. Dave, should we put your name at the bottom?
That is me to a T.
Yeah.
You
I might brain from laughing.
You actually have no idea how much Beth and I laughed when Sue sent this to us.
I was reading that like, have they just written me?
That's what we assumed.
Pretty much. It was modelled on you, Dave.
God, that's funny.
The yin.
Do you want to do the feminine?
Do the feminine.
Yeah.
So, feminine motivated people. Likes organisation. Who here likes to be organised? Is it a top priority or is it further down?
Yeah.
Is it always up and down depending on the situation? I like to be organised. I like to be structured. I like to be clear and know exactly where I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm not really particular, but I like to have some form of structure.
Yeah, agree.
Winging it, I can do, but I'm clear and I'm going straight in the direction I want to go with structure. So, like structure and set procedures, when something works, don't alter it.
Yep. It's broke, don't fix it.
Thoroughly. Yeah, fixed. Resist change and alterations. Now, obviously, the thing to be aware here is, I mentioned right at the beginning, Dave and I are two completely different people and different energies. And when we started working together, people would say, if you want to go and start a business, you go to Dave. If you want to go and get cuddled, you go to Martin. It's true, because the energies are so different now. What's so good about that, though, is naturally, Dave is very, very powerful presence. Very confident, very strong in his masculine. Now I've been able to learn and grow into that masculine, but also keep the feminine side so I can adapt. And when Dave is so adamant about being in a masculine energy, I can retreat back, let him do what he has rather than us being clashing. And that's why a relationship, because it's a relationship, it's the fact that it's not intimate unless it's a private weekend function. It's not intimate, is that what's allowed us to be together. Because if we were both the same, do you think any of you guys would be here today?
No.
This would never have taken place. So there has to be a level of give. So tend to conform to the rules most of the time. Because of the fear of being dominated by somebody else as well. Because remember, like, if you think about it, we've all probably been in the presence. Is anybody a police officer here? You know, the ones that are just all about power tripping? Well, very much in the masculine, they want to dominate you or make, I'm authority, I'm a police officer. So the feminine wants to just go, hey, I don't want any of that, I don't want any of that challenge. Ensure projects are finished before starting other projects. Susan, would you like to finish your projects that you've got going on?
I would, that would be awesome. And that's the thing, as you can see from both sides, the masculine start projects easy, don't finish. The feminine, finish the projects.
Saying that this is what's really important to understand. There's 4 of us in our team to create everything. If we were all about finishing stuff, nothing new would ever get created. So we need the visionary of Dave. Dave brings a very powerful element to what we do. But we know, as in Susan, Beth and myself, the work that needs, and we need to finish things before moving on to something else, because nothing would ever actually happen. if we kept going. If we were just 4 visionaries, we'd be great at talking, but there'd be no doing, there'd be no creation. Everybody lives in a home or an apartment, yeah? Remember, somebody, a visionary, saw that building before it was even there. And then showed
The thing
what.
up, and then she went and fixed it.
I used to build homes in apartments. You can see a building there. I used to build deckings and gazebos, and I could see it there before it was even built. But because of my skills, I was able to go and build it. So that's why you need a team. That's why you need to be around people, and you need to leverage from people's skills. The 4 of us leverage from each other. You don't need to be the master of everything. So take a long time to begin new projects. That's because usually they want to finish the last one. Live predominantly in the past. This is a big one that holds a lot of people back.
Example?
Well, because, let's put it in this sense in regards to what I experienced. When I went through that course of depression, could I have stayed there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Forever? Could I also have moved forward?
Yes.
So it was a choice. And Dave mentioned earlier on, about excuses. And there's the saying, you can have excuses and you can have results, but you can't have both. So it's what you want. Now I know when I was in that mental institute, and I saw, and the psychiatrist planted the seed in that moment. Martin, you're the lead husky. You're a runner. This is a 2-week course, and after 2 weeks it repeats itself. Do you want to be here for week 3? No. He says you'll go into that hospital, and there's been people that have been there 6 months. From the age of 13 to in the 60s. And I walked in there, and I've mentioned it earlier, when we were all in a group, and they said, what's your anxiety level? People got up and they walked out and went back to the room. Do you think it's going to get better for anybody when they live their life that way?
No.
No, of course it's not. So it's a choice. So when we're looking on here, living in the past, oh, well, this happened in my life. My parents treated me this way. Oh, well, my boss sacked me because he said I wasn't good enough working. Why would live in the past? There's a reason why the rear view mirror is that big, and the windscreen is that big. So we can see where we're going. Don't let it control us. It's just the reality of it. So think in order to talk. Basically the opposite of what Sue said, but in a really good way. Prefer tradition to innovation. Now then, this is a really powerful one with lifestyle by laptop, isn't it? Lifestyle by a laptop. Who here went to school?
Yes.
Most of us?
Yeah.
All of us should have.
So, what happened at school? You were told to sit at a desk, open your textbook, follow what the teacher told you to do. Who here went to college or university? What were you told to do?
Same.
Do the same. Then when you go to get a job, what are you told to do?
Same.
9 to 5,
Follow the rules.
Ugh.
4 weeks a year.
And now, technology has disrupted our whole way of living. There is artificial intelligence. In a video that I watched, that actually there was an assault course set up and it went and ran the whole thing and jumped over all kinds of stuff. Technology is evolving so fast that it's changing the shape of the way we live. So from a feminine side, a lot of people in the feminine energy do not want to adapt to that because it's not tradition. It's not what they're used to.
And this is not just from a business point of view too. When you look at it, if you look at relationship point of view, to the feminine, we're more community-based. So in the olden days, even though the men were too, the men would go out and they would hunt and they'd all get their little groups and they'd go off and hunt, and the women would all sit around and we would collect berries and seeds and we would sow and we would cook and we would discuss and we would talk and we would discuss what's going on in our lives and what's happening, and we would learn from each other, and it was a community thing. Feminines are also very, very community-based, where they need people around them and they actually need a community around them. So with technology now, it means we're actually not having the communities like we used to have before. Very rarely are you going to a women's group or a morning tea, where you get invited to a morning tea, you turn up, you have a coffee, you all have a chat, you have a laugh, you share some recipes, whatever it's going to be. That doesn't actually happen anymore. It's starting to become less and less and less of a community. Then when you look at it from the dating point of view, because let's all, be honest, and no, you would never guess that neither me or Martin are single, but hey, whatever, like someone's just not lucky. Alright, anyway. But from a dating point of view, even, from that point of view, when you talk about tradition, the tradition is we meet, we get to know each other. You meet my family, I meet your family. We get engaged, we have a year-long engagement, now it's like we meet, we sleep together a few times, then I'll ask you if we're exclusive.
We're not yet. No.
Right? No. And then we kind of do whatever, and in the meantime, we're at dinner together and Martin's swiping left and right and up and down and stuff. Like, it's completely changed now. The dynamic of that has actually changed. The sanctity of marriage has now changed. And again, we need to be able to evolve and move with that. And unfortunately, I guess from the feminine point of view, we would love to be romanced and dined and everything else. However, we also, I suppose we were talking about this in the business world, we are actually, when the men went off to war, we basically took their jobs because we had to fill their jobs. When they came back, they were told not to have feelings at war, you don't react, it's your life and death, you need to just deal with this. They've come back completely changed men. We've all got their jobs. There's no jobs for them because we're sitting in their jobs and we have been for years. And we're now actually breadwinners with them a lot of the time. We're both out there. We're managing teams, we're managing staff, we're managing big businesses, we've got a lot of responsibilities, we've got all this stuff. So we go to work and we go to work in our masculine most of the time. Because basically that's where in the corporate world, we have to be and we sit. Okay, so then when we come home, if we come home to a partner, we have to be able to drop that back down and let them come up. And it's just become one of those worlds where with technology, it's become really confusing. Gone are the days where he walked into the cave and grabbed her by the hair and it was just simple, really, let's be honest. He rode up on his horse and went, oh, you, like you. She goes, okay, then ask my dad, he's a pig. And we're off. All changed now. It's just all changed.
Take me back.
She's coming from when she's
Take me back to the good old days.
That was terrible.
So we're going to go now into the ways to bring in more masculine. So if who here more feminine on the sheet? Yeah, cool. Two. There's an interesting as well. I'm going to be gender specific. Two guys as well. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Good. So ways to bring in more masculine into your life. So go and sit next to a gorilla. That's what it's saying.
Beat your chest. Do the whole man thing.
Do something competitive.
Yeah.
Do something that's going to challenge you.
Who wants to do kettlebell sports?
Upsell.
So you were playing soccer, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So around the guys, running around, obviously competing now. Cool.
And that is one thing, when men play team sports, especially men, because they're around other men and they're around, I think the testosterone kind of passes through the air and goes through everyone. And it tends to build the testosterone up a lot more and makes them sometimes more on the masculine side, which isn't a bad thing. But these ideas and the tips we've got here, if you find that you're sitting too much up here or you're sitting too much up here, bring yourself back down and be aware. The idea of us having this conversation with you is to make you aware of the differences, so that when you leave here, if you find that all of a sudden you go, oh, hang on a sec, I think I'm sitting too here or I'm sitting too here, you can do a few of these things just to bring yourself back down. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So construct a project.
Now this is not sexist by any way, shape or form. This is to do with the wiring in the left and right side of your brain. Okay? Because obviously there's certain parts of your brain that are the creative side, then there's a logical side here. The masculine side is more logical, the feminine side is more creative. It's just the way it is. So if you want to engage more of your masculine side, come up with a project, start creating a project of some sort. It could be a cool colour that you want to design. It doesn't matter as long as it's constructing a project.
So you're saying that
Microphone?
not feminine.
Over there.
We've
Well,
got
they
to
want
go here.
Go.
So basically you're saying that.
Is that turned
No.
on?
Turn it on.
How do you do that?
Click the button.
Push the button.
So basically you're saying when you're in your creative side, that when you're being creative, that helps you be more masculine.
No,
the
no.
other way around.
The other way around, yes.
Okay.
So for instance, has everybody grabbed hold of the Insta boards and had a picture taken with them yet?
Yeah.
Why not?
hungry.
I didn't spend all that money for them to be to just sit there.
Oh,
Right.
now you're trying to.
The reason why I asked that is because when we did the event in February, we got the Insta boards and they wobbled a lot. Now, my background, as I mentioned, was building homes and apartments. So I actually got some wood and I got the saw out the other day. And I haven't took all my tools got stolen. 15 grand's worth of gear got stolen. Now, that's the universe saying you don't need to build anymore. That's the way I see it. I could have been really, really upset with it, but that's all the past. However, I had my drill. Best saw me last night. I cut some wood, had my drill, put the handles on and screwed it on. Do you know how much I felt fantastic? I was constructing something. I felt brilliant.
Your energy changes.
My energy completely changed. I was like in my zone, running around with drilling my screws and stuff. Something that they used to do. Yeah. And the Dalton. My stubbies.
He's single. I'm sorry, you can tell me.
I'm loving it. So constructing a project, not like arty.
Yes, yes. So just, and also being in that microphone, being in that creative zone.
No, not
Send it up. Just touch it on the top gently, yeah.
It just takes a little while.
Being in that creative zone then allows you to be, it releases a whole lot of energy, because I know when I haven't been creative for a while, when I go and be creative, then everything just flows really, really well.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that in a second on why that happens. Yeah.
So the science. And for anyone who knows the difference between Dave and I, as I always say, Mr. OCR, over-compulsive researcher. Very much analytical, wants to research, wants to know all the information on it. When somebody asks me for the science around the water and that, I really don't retain it because it's not my energy, but Dave knows it all. I'm more about how does it make you feel? How do you feel about yourself? How's your health going? That's the feminine side, that's really what I'm more connected to. But getting involved in the science side really helps.
Would you say that the masculine, what is it? Masculine what?
Energy.
Energy. Would you say that the masculine energy is more for the survival side of humanity, and then the feminine's more, I wouldn't know what to categorise the feminine as, but masculine would be more for the survival of mankind?
No, because
No?
without the feminine you have no survival of mankind. I'm sorry to break that to you.
Yeah, right.
Until men can give birth.
This morning at 7 o'clock, gave birth. Yeah. So, no, realistically.
Yeah.
It is. The masculine energy is more a protective type measure. Yeah, where the feminine's more a nurturing type energy. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the feminine?
More the nurturing side
Oh,
of energy. Yeah.
okay.
You could even look at it from and this is my perception, from an ego place.
Yeah.
The masculine is very ego dominant, whereas the feminine's not. The feminine's going to the back off and heart-centered.
Humble and
Yeah.
yeah, so.
So test your physical strength.
And I know this seems silly to people. I do know it seems silly, but if you're sitting really, really highly in the feminine, being able to drop down and actually go out there and do something that's actually weightlifting, as you would know, going to the gym, grabbing a boxing bag and just beating the hell out of it, like there's nothing better. And just being able to do that and doing something that's actually just physical, it's just a physical act of doing, is really, really good. And that's why, actually no, we won't discuss that. That's why
Is that more feminine, is it?
no, this is the
It's
masculine.
masculine, it's more
Oh, that's
masculine.
not proper.
Yeah, and that's why when masculines drop into that, and it's another conversation for another day, but basically with a masculine, they will trade love for sex, whereas a female will trade sex for love. And that's because it's the physical act, the act of, and again, where the female energy is more heart-centered in things, where it's more physical-centered. So, yeah.
There's a really powerful book called Finding God Through Sex. If anybody's read that or not read it, it's really powerful. And it's not what you think is in finding God as in who we believe this bearded man. It's actually about understanding the energies of, we're all a part of God, whatever you associate God with. But the power of what we are and understanding and appreciating like the feminine energy and the masculine energy through the whole process, it blew my mind when I read it. And I thought it was all about finding, the Lord. And it's not.
That wasn't what you thought at all.
I did. I did. But this is a really good one. So relax when your work is done. Usually this is I'll let you talk about this one because I was howling when I was. Sorry, but it does look comfortable.
It does say I want to do it now.
Yeah, okay. So with the masculine energy, even though you may see them sitting on the couch at home, having a beer, doing basically what seems like absolutely nothing, they're actually not.
They're not.
No.
Sure.
No.
Not convinced.
In their heads, they're actually doing a lot. In their head, like, so obviously I used to have this saying when someone would make a comment and I'd go, I know it looks like I'm doing nothing, but on a cellular level, I'm kicking butt. But then in their mind, they're actually starting to do the whole so their mind is constantly going and going like, so basically for a masculine, being able to shut that brain down and that one focus, because remembering, Dave wanted to walk from here to here. It's now Wednesday and he hasn't managed to get here, so he's still focused on trying to get here, right? Now he may start and stop halfway and then decide he doesn't want to do it anymore because as we've seen, they don't complete. But at the same point in time, his focus is still on that one thing of trying to get to that point. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question?
No, you can't.
Just
You
turn
can't.
it
up. You have to push it up and then just wait
Oh,
for
the
the
lights
red
are going
light to go.
off.
Now it wasn't working.
Because recently I heard about the nothing box. Have you heard about that? Men have a nothing box.
Yeah.
So is that masculine
What's the
or
nothing
feminine?
box? What is the nothing
It
box?
means like, I don't know, as a woman, but can you ever switch your brain off? Mine never, and I'm going, I want a nothing box. So
They actually have to have the nothing box. I know that sounds really, really bad. And then when I said to you, they may be sitting on the couch looking like they're doing nothing, but their head is actually, they are doing something.
Yep.
It can be nothing.
True.
It can seriously be absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
But they have to have that. That time has to. And the problem is, even though there's nothing, they're still doing something because they're doing nothing. So basically for us as females, we can get to that point where yes, I know we're trying to multitask, but when we relax, when we actually get that time where we can relax, usually we can relax. Like we can actually do that relax. Whereas from the masculine energy side of things, even though they may be doing nothing, they're still in that.
Heck yeah. That's so true.
He's looking around, he's hyper vigilant, he's waiting for the tiger to come out the bush so he can save the queen and whatever. They're always hyper vigilant, and that's just one of those things. So even though they're doing the nothing is actually something to them in their brain.
Yeah,
Surprisingly. It's kind of like, you know, the universe looks down and God goes, okay, we're going to give you a span of say 2 to 3 hours where we're going to actually switch off. You know when you switch your computer off and it freezes?
Yep.
Okay? And you can't do anything, but the computer is doing something, it's frozen, but you still can't do anything. You know when that happens?
Yep.
That's the nothing.
Yeah.
So it's still doing something even though it's doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, right. On a cellular level, kicking ass.
That's right.
So how do you move into the actually physically moving to the couch to do something physical rather than just being
It's called the
settled?
Gray Nichols cricket bat.
Yeah.
Or a sledgehammer.
Yeah, it's also about focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can give them something to focus on
Yeah.
and redirect that nothingness focus into it. But again, if they're in the nothingness box and they're on freeze like a computer,
Yeah.
you can't do much until they're on freeze. It's one of those things.
If you actually go onto YouTube and type in a male and female nothing box, it will bring up a guy that actually talks about
No.
the female and the male. It's brilliant, it's hilarious. Yeah, it's American and it's hilarious, so you'll know what it is.
Can I ask you something?
Sorry, yeah.
Oh crap, stuck. So seeing as how we're just talking about energy, does that mean that women can tap more into their masculine energy by
Yeah.
sitting on the couch doing
Yeah.
nothing? Like being quite serious, because we said that we weren't talking about men and women, that we're actually talking about
Both energies,
male
yeah.
and female energy. So does that mean we can tap into that by doing that activity?
Yes, yeah.
When you go and lie on the couch next to a guy, you're like, we're getting along. She's my kind of lady. She's not screaming at me.
Yeah, so the idea behind this is if you're sitting a lot in your feminine, you need to drop into the masculine, have more masculine, to be able to find that balance we were talking about. If you're sitting too far on one side, this is what you can do to actually be able to balance yourself back out.
Okay.
If you do too much of these things, you're going to swing in the opposite direction, and then you're going to have to do more of the feminine to bring you back down. Yeah.
So let's talk about getting more into your feminine. Oh, sorry, mate. Go on, quickly.
John?
Yeah, hi. I was taught that yang energy is like first and second gear in a car. It gets the car going.
Yeah.
However, third and fourth is the yin, it keeps the car going. But the trick is to have 4 gears yourself, so you can tap in.
Yeah, wow.
Because a lot of relationships are codependent because they need the gears,
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Beautiful.
And that's why when you can find the balance in yourself,
Yeah.
you're not codependent on anyone. You're not relying on somebody else externally, which we can talk about in a second, but I'm not looking at Martin to
Yeah.
give me, the appreciation that I'm looking for. Because I'm actually getting it within myself. I'm not looking at him to protect me because I'm going to the gym and I'm working out so that I'm just going to kick their ass myself before the rest of them. But again, it's if you can find the balance. Yeah.
I'm on the couch.
And nothing was lost.
Create art. This is like everything that you see that's been created is. I'm not saying this from like praise me, but has been very much from my creative side, the things that I love to do. Remember, what I used to do with the building game. All of a sudden, I don't do that anymore, so I don't have that energy that's going on. But the masculine side of it had to be first and second gear to get these slides created.
Yeah.
But the feminine energy came in and said, okay, this is the content, how are we then going to bring in pictures, how are we going to actually bring this entire one together?
Yeah. So remembering the feminine's more creative, masculine's more logical.
Yeah.
And then when I was in the Marion Centre, actually, there's 2 areas that you can go. One's creative, and one's in a room talking with people. And the psychiatrist said, I'm not going to put you in the creative side because you're very good at creating. I'm going to put you in the room where you're going to speak. And I thought, bloody hell, I'm very good at speaking. So it was only a couple of days and they had me on the whiteboard talking. So there's really important that you get clear on the energies when you need them, when you want to use them, and doing art and things like that. So nurturing, powerful one. From a feminine side, we think of it as in nurturing children, but even something growing, I mean, still life. Masculine, if you drop kettlebells, you will. So nurturing, working through that, intuition. This is a powerful one.
Yeah.
Who came here this weekend because their head told them to, or internally you knew it was what you needed? Your head told you, or internally?
Well, internally, intuitively.
Yeah.
There's a bit of both.
And we're all born with intuition. Like it is, and the intuition is what we do get confused about is we also have the internal fight or flight mechanism, which has kind of been over the years mixed up a little bit. So basically, that's that gut feeling where you get the stirring, something's not quite right, that type of thing. Okay.
Yeah, welcome emotions. So embracing the emotions that are happening. We saw Dee earlier on kindly share and go really deep, and she controlled herself very, very strongly, and eventually it started to come up. And even I was on the camera there and getting teary. You know, the emotions come up. And Dave mentioned before, don't let them drive you, but don't suppress them.
Yeah.
Let them up. Let them be a part of who you are. Let them show and let them flow. Really, really important that we do that, especially, and I'm not being sexist or gender specific, but especially as males. We embrace that because the feminine wants to see that. The females want to see that.
And it also gives other men permission to do
What
the same.
females find attractive and cry.
Oh, yeah.
Must be like all the ladies and boring.
Boring, not boring. Think holistically. What does holistically mean?
Balanced.
Whole, yeah, balance. Everything in one.
Universe, nature, being out in the green, seeing us all as being one.
I'm just curious, if you're sitting in the balance space, do you actually need to move into your masculine or feminine, or do you just stay there?
Well, you're never actually gonna just stay there. You're always going to be moving, like Susan said. It's great when you're actually fluctuating because you need both. So balance is you've got both. Really, really good state.
So
Nobody needs to be anything. But all that really is going to be a case of, for instance, for you to want to get your health back to where you want to get it, or to get it to where you want to go, there's going to be a level of first and second gear of masculine.
Masculine.
You're going to have to drive into here.
Yeah.
But your feminine is going to appreciate it because you're over here, it's going to start growing as well.
Okay. Cool.
It's going to be they're constantly complementing. One of the things that I talk about is this. So we've got failure, success. Oh. Who wants to be in failure? Show of hands. Oh, crazy. You want to be in failure? You don't know this. If you know it, don't show it. Who wants to be in success?
Okay.
Honestly. Right, so, if this is a pendulum, how the hell does it swing into success? It has to swing to there to swing to here. It has to swing right over here to swing all the way over here.
God, that's amazing.
It has to. So how can you, with everything that you, well, what we heard with Johnny earlier, he used to earn a decent amount of money and he blew it all.
Yeah.
Now, how can Johnny appreciate the value of money, the energy of money, if he doesn't have any of it? He has to have zero to then appreciate how much value it is to him. Right? That's the thing. Susan said, the law of polarity.
Yeah.
I can't have a front without a back. We can't have daytime without nighttime. You have to get to a point where you realise that everything that has happened in the past is 100% empowering to you to, in the direction you want to go, to know what you want. It really is. How can I know what happiness is if I don't know what pain is?
The quickest way to be right is to be wrong first.
Which is all bearing in mind, everything's a judgment. But at the same time, we know then the direction we want to go. I know that when I step into a relationship, what I want. I'm 38 years of age. I've been with a large amount of girls. But the thing is I could have easily turned around and gone, oh, she was horrible, she was a pain in the backside, she caused me this problem. But do you know what? Every single one of those relationships has moulded me into the person I am today, and has also given me the level of knowledge as to what I want and the value that I'm going to give to that person. But more importantly, the thing that I know now is that I grew up believing I needed a girlfriend, and when I was with somebody, she completed me. Now I don't need anybody. I want somebody. So if that girl chooses to leave me, I am not broken. I am not broken. That's the most important thing to get to. So everything that's happened in the past is making you stronger when you choose to see the beauty that's in it. So that's when this, where we all want to be, because of fear from this side, this is why this is always created. And we can keep moving forward.
Mic drop.
Boom. So your personal